Hello everyone and welcome back to the tutorials. Today we're gonna be sculpting torso, and before we start sculpting I recommend you going on Google and googling sculpting anatomy. So if you just write sculpting anatomy ref or AF, then you're gonna find these images, and for this one, sculpting anatomy female. Then import the image as a reference and set it up the way you want them. I will firstly make them on a side. This is the front view, and on the side view, basically easy to toggle and easy to see what I'm working on. Okay, before we start, I'm gonna change my focal length as well, adding a screen keys. We're gonna change the matcap. This is the sphere, but I'm gonna start from the cube. Subdivision, apply. And now we can go into sculpting mode. Sculpting everything is, the reference is very important. So if you can please try adding them in the background. Firstly, we're gonna start forming from the ribcage. Let me maybe overdraw. Okay, probably have annotations turn off in here. Exactly. So we're gonna be drawing this. You can see it a bit better in these. There's a skeleton version of this one as well, of this muscle guy. You probably would be easier for you to see. Okay. All we're worrying about is now getting a nice shape. Don't worry too much on how you shape it at the moment, because we're gonna add another detail and it's gonna change the whole look. But we already have something similar to this shape. Now I'm gonna go into object mode and duplicate the object. Drag it a bit down and go into sculpting mode. I'm not joining them together, so I have a bit of separation between the objects. And we're gonna be drawing a belly shape. Have a nice bend. You can see that the hips go out. We're gonna add them. Don't worry about the muscles for right now, just get the correct shape. So we basically already got it falling down, looping up back and coming back. I'm probably gonna extend it a little bit, where we're gonna add a butt. Well, it's not for now. Another thing we're definitely gonna have to need is shoulders. I'm gonna add a cube, add a subdivision to it, edit mode, drag it to the side and add a mirror. Don't forget to add it in the edit mode. I mean, drag it in the edit mode, or then the mirror modifier not gonna work for you. I'm gonna apply the subdivision, go into sculpting mode. I probably added way too much of the shoulders, but I'm gonna use it as this part of the neck and the torso. This way, when we have a separate object, it's way easier to just toggle through them. If you feel like you can mess up one shape when working on another one, splitting it into different objects definitely gonna help you and make it easier to control. But in the end, we will still have to merge everything together. All right. Now I'm gonna just add another cube. Make it into center, go edit mode, drag it down. I'm just gonna position the cube in the butt area, add the subdivision modifier, and now a mirror. I'm going to apply the mirror modifier because when you're gonna be joining the shapes, one thing might disappear or even create some problems. I didn't scale my spheres properly, which is a problem now. I'm actually gonna delete this one and go into mirror and just scale it more properly. Position. Now I can apply. Don't forget to go into object mode when you're applying. With the grab tool. Now if you can see, the butt is very smooth transition from the torso to the butt. So we're trying to not break up the shape of the back when we're adding it. Now it's very hard to position the butt in the shoulders correctly without having any hands or legs. So I'm gonna add a cylinder, scale it, then scale it on the z-axis, make it a bit bigger. Probably made a torso too small, but it's gonna work for now. If we run up in the error, we can go back and look over. Okay. No need to apply on this one because we're not gonna be sculpting that right now. I'm gonna enlarge the torso. And I'm gonna add the last cylinder for the neck. We learned about the neck position on the last tutorial of the head, but I'm gonna go over it again. Don't rush joining everything, so I'm gonna join these three parts first. I press through Ctrl+J. Select another one, to Ctrl+J, and we don't excuse me, we don't need to do anything. We just go into a sculpting mode and use a voxel remesher. I'm gonna change the resolution of the voxel remesher. Somewhere at 0.5. Let's see. Yeah, 0.05, but be very careful on how you change it. Maybe the scale of the object is different. It might mess up. I'm having 28,000. Now we're gonna add some bones. This one bone. And this bone is very important, how you put it in, because it dictates a lot of the shapes, how they will fall on the body and neck. For now, I'm just putting it and not worrying. I'm gonna go over it again later. At this point, I'm gonna add a back, this neck muscle, and a back muscle. Okay, this is not a shoulder muscle. This is just a neck and a torso. Now you have to see a small bump on a side view from these muscles, so don't be too afraid on how much you're adding of it. I'm gonna add on the side as well, because it does go in here as well. And this is where the clavicle comes in, because this bone, because it connects to the bone. Just add. Don't be afraid, because we don't have too much mass on here. I'm gonna shape a neck as well. There's a small bend in here, and at the top it's a bit pushed out. Now I'm gonna add a neck muscle. this line. Probably should set my annotations to draw on the object. Okay. This is a different muscle. And this one is another one. The ones we're putting in right now. As well as you can see, the neck back muscle dictates on how the shape is flowing from this muscle. That's why we shouldn't be too much afraid on adding it on the side. I see that my mesh is making a weird thing because of the remesher, so I'm gonna remesh it again. And I'm gonna use the grab tool. Now I see that my shoulders dropped in weight too much. I'm going to lift it up. If something is hard to follow or understand, stop the video and look at the reference image you have. As well as I can see I made the shape too far. I actually thought that the torso was too small and the hands would be way too close, but I was mistaken. I will drag them a bit closer to the body. And you will probably always have these small mistakes where something looks weird, but don't be afraid to go over them. Okay, now the bone actually doesn't have... Let me just show you. This bone actually goes quite straight line. And now I have this weird flow. As well as I lost the mass on this place. I'm gonna make it a bit taller, drop this one. And as we can see, it's quite further away, but I have these points of the bone dropping down way too far. Just going to smooth a bit. And let's go back some more on the back. Now, the back doesn't really have too many muscles. Especially the back itself. I'm gonna add another color just in case. Now we got this huge one muscle which comes out from this place. You cannot see here because it hides into the armpit. That's why actually having your hands as a separate object is now very important, because we just have to find it and hide it. And this way we can draw the muscle from the armpit. If we would have it the hand here, it would be pretty hard to draw, especially if they are connected. If the hand is connected to the body. Now we come into a bit of the problem where the belly is not connected to the upper torso. So we're gonna go and actually connect it at this point. Don't forget to save your project. Going back into sculpting mode, and I'm actually gonna add a little bit more of resolution to my voxel. Remesh it. We're at 0.04 and I'm having 63,000. Just smoothing so I can see the shapes more clearly. Okay, so I see that my ribcage is way too high. I'm gonna drop it and make it a little bit more round. Looks a bit better. If you're a complete beginner, I definitely recommend you following the reference very closely. At the end of the video, we're gonna drag the model over the reference and try to see what we can change. I will recommend you doing that with me together. But now just go together with me. I'm drawing that in the bone so I can see the landmarks. I already painted the bone, the muscle, but I haven't drawn it in. And this bone is where it comes again because it connects close to the bone. Smooth the sides, add some more in here. What I'm looking at is that this muscle doesn't block the whole view of the neck. This part should still be somewhat visible. Same as in here. It looks like they have a very hard separation in this area. But actually, as you can see from this line, it flows very, very evenly and nicely. Don't be afraid of changing shapes a lot because the grab tool can fix everything very quickly. Okay, now I'm gonna be adding abs, let's call it like that. They are pretty straight line, as you can see in both of the reference images. So I'm just going at the ribcage, top this hole, and trying to draw a six-pack. Smoothing them out, having this shape where it drops from the rib cage. This is where a belly button is very close to, and coming back up. It's fine to even add this type of thing close to the ribcage to make a belly seem more smooth. Maybe I dragged in way too much. I'm gonna pick it up a bit up, and let's go back to where we finished before joining the objects. So as I draw on the back muscle, it's same in here, going from the inside of your armpit if you're not certain, always have the view and measure how you want it to be. Smooth. Always go to the side view and see how it looks when you add the mesh. Now I can see that this is somewhat nice. Now it seems like this part has a dent in it, where this one is pretty nice and oval. This is where we're gonna add a bit more stuff at the back. From this ones we can see that it has a bone. In this one reference, the bone is a bit more visible. So let's draw the bone in, and again, if I'm not comfortable, I'm looking at the reference image and drawing the bone in, trying to copy the shape, copying the shape from the image and smoothing. Now we have a little bit better, but we don't have other muscles. We don't have this. As a beginner, I really don't even tell people to focus on these muscles because it may become too overcomplicated and they change very small amounts of look. It only changes how the shoulder is connected to your torso, which I'm gonna go over and tell you how to do it pretty easily in the later tutorials. Okay, so I'm adding this muscle, dropping from the top of the torso to somewhere close to the center. What I'm looking for is this bone and this muscle, as you can see, almost at the same place. Don't need to add it too much. This is a pretty soft body. I'm sculpting, and if you're sculpting a male, you definitely can go more heavily on this shape. Now, as you can see in the reference image, a neck muscle goes from here, and this is where you can see a very, very light blue triangle on the side drawn. This is where there's no really muscle. That's where we have this empty shape from drawing a neck muscle, then drawing this torso, and we have this triangle lift. If you want, you can add a bone. This is where your spine bone would be. Actually, we don't have this separation in the middle, so I'm gonna take a draw, sharp, and try separating. Oh, I accidentally scaled the object. Smooth. Okay, and it looks already pretty good. Now I'm gonna fix the shoulder area. Not too visible in these reference images. That's why having more would be a bit more beneficial. As you can see, a shoulder muscle. Maybe I'm gonna use another light color for pecs, your chest muscle. And this is where that empty triangle comes in. Maybe you can see in here, there's an empty triangle. In this area. So I'm gonna draw shoulder. And the chest muscles. Now you can see very clearly how they go in this image. Usually I like to separate it into 3 sections. One section is at the top, another one in the middle, and another one at the bottom. Having this oval shape. This is how a pecs on a man would look like, but instead a girl has other things in there. Don't be afraid how much you add, because even on the side view it becomes visible. And if you add too much, you can always smooth it, change it. And even on girls, they have these muscles. They're becoming very visible when you can see this shape is splitting. That's where the muscles come in this place. Let's get our hands back. Now don't be afraid to use the grab tool. Because we have the shapes, but we don't have the form itself. So with the grab tool, I'm trying to create the form I'm looking for. As well, you can add some more stuff at your belly. On females, it's visible, but not too much. If you're going realistic style, you definitely should add. It looks like the ribcage, and yes, some people you can see the ribcage, but there are these muscles and another muscle in here. It's not too visible in any of these reference images. It drops down, and this is another one going around. So if you want, you can add this drop, and from this area going around, adding a bit more meat, chunkiness. As well as a hip bone. Now at this point, when you feel you're finished but something is not looking great, don't be afraid to use a reference image we have. So what I'm gonna do is try to place in the reference image where the model is, then go, if you're using a matcaps or any, you can press on X-ray, play with the wall, play with the value so you can see. I see that my image is not centered, and if you like your shape, you don't have to go through this, but if you don't, and I feel very far from what you want to achieve, go over and drag things into places. This is not cheating, this is help. This is helping your mind remembering where everything is and how it should be. Turning X-ray and looking. I really liked my before, so I'm gonna keep it as before, but you can, I will delete this one. You can copy this one and just have it on the side view, because now we have a scale. Drag it at the side. And yes, I can see the problem. So I'm gonna hide the hands now. Add an X-ray, maybe even without the X-ray, if you can see. Well, you can draw everything into places. And just fix in the shape. Don't forget that this is the hand. I'm gonna hide the object. This is the hand, this is not the back itself. So don't draw in the hand shape into your back. I think the back is bending okay. We can have a neck pushed. Our bony mark into places, and turning off X-ray. And this is what we have. Adding the hands, and I'm gonna be adding the hands and the legs later. Good job, everyone. Before ending, let's add some more details, especially because this is a female. Okay, I'm gonna add more resolution to the voxel remesh. 0.02. Let's see. Oh, I have statistics turned off. I think that's enough, at least for now. Oh, accidentally scaling up. And again, sorry. I'm just sometimes having trouble with the shortcuts. Okay. Now, the breast itself is separate, as you can see on this. It doesn't involve into the muscles, and it's just in this area. What happens is muscles around helps to shape the form. Let's get those bones into the shape. That ribcage. Okay, so definitely formed it incorrectly, and you probably will too. The hardest part to get is that the bottom actually touches the skin. As well as the shape is definitely not a bubble. Let's remove the mask and see. My screencast keys are off, just in case you're looking at them. I'm just adding this mesh to smooth out the shape, as well as, where is my annotations? As well as this loop around is important as well, because it separates the muscle from the bone. I'm using the crease brush to get that nice crevices smoothing in. You can play a bit with the shape. Get them look right takes a long time. Okay, before ending, let's add some small details. Is this separation, it's not really visible in this reference, but there's a separation which starts even further than your ribcage and drops down into the belly button. As well as some muscles. You always can use that reference to get the shapes. You can do a few ways actually. You can mask this part and drag the mesh up. Let's clear the mask. As well as you can see, the hip bone has a pretty visible separation from the muscles and body as well. There's some mass close to it as well. Probably drop it too far. What I mean is just don't be afraid to experiment. And one of the things is how you find your style is the way you go from the reference image and make the shapes the way you like, and your preference becomes your style. Okay, so I kinda did a bad job with this triangle. Maybe I will add a bit more to here because I see that it's very empty. At this part where I added a lot of vertices, it's gonna be way harder to control the mesh. Without adding the hands, it is pretty hard to put everything in the right places. So that's why at the later episode I'm gonna go over the shoulders and the back a bit more. But for now it's looking great. Okay, so I think this is where we're gonna end for the torso tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.